from the Emerald Cup 2024. It's time for Ralph, Zig, Tycho, and Zig in the Zone.
Zig in the Zone with the man I love.
Oh,
Oh, isn't it sweet?
it is sweet. And we don't even
Uh,
have to be in San Francisco and say the man I love.
Well, that's me. I meant me, but I love you too.
Oh, you meant the man I love. You meant yourself.
Yes, of
Oh, I
course.
thought you meant me.
I'm an alleged narcissist.
Well, we allegedly.
Allegedly, but
I've seen the wanted posters.
I want to make this perfectly clear. I am an admitted hedonist and an occasional narcissist. I'm just human. We're all. Do you have a narcissist side?
Oh, well, hello. I'm a stand-up comedian, right?
Okay.
So there has to be a little bit of that in my DNA.
Well, sometimes I watch Larry. What's his name?
Who,
I'm
Larry King?
blanking. We've
No,
been
wait.
at this festival all day.
Yeah, we have.
Um,
Which Larry?
and
Larry from what?
from
Larry, what does he do?
yeah,
Is he a football player? Is it
he's
Larry
a
Bird?
narcissist from New York, from Brooklyn. Larry David.
Oh,
And,
Larry David, the
and
co-creator of Seinfeld, right?
sometimes um, I've had people accuse him of being a narcissist, and I think he's absolutely straight with people. He's not a narcissist. He doesn't think along those lines, and neither do I. But I can see where people confuse hedonism with narcissism, just as people confuse the fetus with the baby.
Well, but
It's a matter of ignorance and it's a matter of not knowing that there are two separate words in the dictionary for each.
well, and then hedonism. I think when I think of hedonism, I think of being a little bit of a bad boy or a little.
A little bit, and I think of it as just simply living life to get what you want and not getting over on people.
So
Narcissism,
there
they
is that element of being selfish.
absolutely.
It's just
You
twisted in a whole different way.
you have to be in certain ways to protect yourself selfish in to
I
others
feel like I have to stroke
on
this
it.
mic. Look at this. This is great. Harry keeps
Well,
wooing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I'm sorry
No,
you're
I'm gonna turn.
feeling
No,
that
yeah,
way.
I know. I thought I'd tell you guys if all of a sudden I start doing something weird with
Hey, we've been here at the Emerald
the Emerald Cup.
Festival. What a trip and a half for me.
Right.
Um,
So we brought you in. We dropped you in by like a hot air balloon, or was it helicopter? How do we bring you in? Zig in
uh,
the Zone. We brought you in, and it was airlifted or something. But we brought you into the festival. It was today, Sunday. Um, you got to see your buddy get an award.
oh wow. Um, one of the most honest humanist I've ever met in my life.
Right.
Dan Rush, ladies and gentlemen, got an honorary award. They should have ended the show on him and made it much shorter. But
I'm
if
looking at I'm looking at one take Jake official here, and he's like he agrees with you.
I hope so,
They could have cut it
because
right off after that.
absolutely I lost all interest on that in that. As a matter of fact, we talked shortly after that, and you gave me the impression that you were done filming and we were going to be going. It was an hour and a half.
Oh my
And oh
gosh.
my God, Joe Schlabonsky's Growing Place, number 41, number 18, and they'd introduce 18 people. I appreciate honoring folks, but you could just um, say those 18 people, let them read the 18 people and talk
Oh
about
yeah.
the old
Yeah, some of those
owners.
categories, literally, they had to do like 20, and I get it because if you walk by some of these exhibit booths in the exhibit hall here at Henry J. Kaiser in Oakland, they're enormous, they're big, they're long, and all you see is these just little buds on pieces of like index cards that are going for miles.
You
Even
know,
just doing whoever does that job,
or
it's like, "What happened to Susan?" "Oh, she's hanging from the rafters." "Why?"
yeah,
Because she was the one that had to, like, tape each bud to each little index card.
do
"Oh,
you?
shit, this one was sour diesel, not" you
I'm
know?
gonna ask you whether or not you're into judging and determining who's better or which weed is better.
Oh, this is good. He's asking you. He's reaching out to Jake, and yes, he's gonna he's gonna get you involved.
It's a tough question. You know, I do think there's able to judge things on their characteristics and their profiles and their intensity and um but I think it's so many categories.
Some of it is your metabolism, some of it is how you're responding that day. But my question is, if I gave you a blind test between not all these strains, but sativa and indica, would you pass it 100% of the time?
Oh, not to say, I mean, I'm a little confident, but if you gave me a
I
list of
I
10,
gave
You
you
get to
if you
look
gave
at
me
it
a
and
list
smell
of
it and
10,
smoke it.
no, if you give me a list of 10 and I was blindfolded and it was strains that are popular in what's in here right now. So say you gave me Jack Herrera, Blue Dream, Granddaddy, or like you know what I mean? I do think I would be able to distinguish between them because I've been
So
around it
would
for
you
so long.
simply get what sativa is on a blind test and what indica
It
is?
would take a little bit.
It would take a
I
little bit.
react better with indica. Some people like get more tired, vice versa. Sativa doesn't react to me the way it does other people, but yes, it would have to take a little bit and yes, I could clarify probably which one is which determining on how I feel later, right? But it's nothing on the instant, right? And then if you're also mixing and smoking and testing so many
Hybrid
different
shit
yeah,
and which is which. You know what my philosophy is? When I get some, accumulate, buy some, I put it in the pipe and smoke it and enjoy it and don't overanalyze it. But it's like being a baseball fan and really a baseball fan. So I understand, which I am. So I understand the fanaticism about it, and you have to know every little third base, the how you cut third base and shit like this. Some people just like to go to a baseball game. I don't. Some people just like to smoke as much as they can of the best stuff they can get because I'm old school when you got what you got and sometimes you'd have to take the stems and the seeds out and there would be nothing left. um so I'm so grateful for the age we live in. I'm so grateful for the folks who are fanatics who have brought us the Dan Rushes in the life who have tried to make it a a decent business, a respectable business moving pot. But it's moving pot. It's like and like I say, I contend that you may miss the boat on what's what. The smell and stuff, that's fine. But you can get sativa that smells the same as indica. So from
Sometimes you
so
can, and sometimes you and like Jake was saying, is that people react differently. Like sometimes I like sativa, but I've now been leaning more towards um, hybrids because that's I don't if it's a really good sativa, sometimes I will get jittery or paranoid or I'll get the wrong effect from
Right.
it. And then quite honestly, I have a noise I have a loud brain, a loud mind.
Yeah.
And so sometimes a little bit of putting a little bit of a damper on it. So indica sometimes kind of helps me quiet my brain.
Well, I think that goes
Right.
back to the whole judging process, right? If you have 30 to 100 or whatever the entries are and you're going around and testing these, are you really
Oh, at that point,
digesting fully the what the actual which strain is doing what? Because like you just said, if you're it takes time, right, for
Right.
you to understand and how it feels. So if you're just smoking back to back on 30
this
strains,
creeper stuff
yeah,
that
you're
doesn't
not getting
affect
the full
you until
experience,
you're
right?
on the way
Right.
home and there's a red light on behind you. You've got to go through a little monkey test. Well, um, I have some great stories about. I haven't been stopped very often. One time for smoking pot, and my buddy, I was watching his house and watching his dog, and he was coming home, so I bought a bunch of ice cream and lit up on my way home, and I'm doing 6 miles an hour. And Officer Vivian, my mother's first name, pulls me over and says, "Have you been smoking?" And the car smells like dope, but I'm not going to admit to any. Do you have any dope? Yes, I do. Here it is. And but have you been smoking today? Not today. I lie. So he gives me a test, and it turns out I can pass the test. He says, "Get in the car. My sergeant's going to come here." Sergeant wants to shoot me because it's Santa Rosa, and here I am, the 80s. I'm smoking a J, and he begrudgingly lets me go when he was convinced by the other cop that I wasn't a hindrance. But if you're a kid listening to this or an old person like myself, don't smoke weed and drive at the same time. The weed we smoke today isn't the weed I was smoking in the 80s, and it affects me differently. Could be because I'm older, could be because,
Holy shit, no, because it's scientifically engineered and genetically. Did you hear some of the shit in that that award show? I
uh,
can't believe. Well, this seed was, well, I think Ngaio used the joke. It was smuggled in through my grandmother's asshole through customs and was brought in from the old country and then was grown here and then we lost the seed but then we got the seed back 20 years later and it's this crazy little.
and Gaio and I go back 30 freaking years
I know
doing
he actually.
heroin.
Did you hear him like say your name?
Yeah,
Like
and I
he
looked
goes,
at him and
he goes Ralph Tycho, and I go, yeah, that's Ralph.
to be recognized for the as Ralph Tycho 30 years later um, says I haven't aged much, but we both know it's different. I have aged.
Oof.
But
So let's talk a little bit about Dan, and then we can wrap up this segment. But uh, tell me what it was like to see your friend get this award today. It was a
it was
lifetime achievement
heartwarming.
award for what
This
was it?
guy was screwed by the FBI and did hard time. And somebody said 5 years. It wasn't 5 years, it was 3 years. But it must have felt like 50 years. He's a middle aged guy losing his freedom.
Right,
And he married a beautiful woman before going into jail, into prison, and to have to leave her, and it was disgusting. Dan Rush did as much to make cannabis a respectable industry as anyone has ever done. Period.
Right.
Because he had the power of the union. And nothing's going to get done labor wise without the unions today. And the weakening of the unions since Reagan is disgusting. It disgusts me, but many things do. Not you, Paulie.
Oh, well, I'm glad. And you
Yeah.
don't disgust me either.
We have a marvelous relationship of not disgusting each other.
Isn't that nice?
It's much nicer than most relationships I have, where either or both of us are disgusted. So we go in everything from ordering at a deli, and you have to stand there with the woman who can't make the sandwich because she simply doesn't understand the difference between turkey and tuna.
Oof.
And we are dealing with ignorant people in this world and people who are uneducated, and it's what's fucking us up. But on the good point, Trump's gonna lose his ass quickly
Oh, gee.
when she starts. Um, he'll resign rather than have to go through the disgrace. He won't just resign. He'll move to an island somewhere. He'll escape prison. One day he'll be gone. There'll be a private plane missing.
He's either going to be in the White House and
No, he won't.
or
Don't say
or
that.
or or it's just going to be hell on wheels. Either way, it's going to be hell on wheels. But
He will make an effort, but there are people who there are enough people who have to understand that there was an insurrection where they tried to kill Nancy Pelosi and Pence, and it was it was what it was, and that can't be excused. I don't think the people are going to stand for a second coup attempt. Um,
no, I don't know. I don't think our country.
have to
Yeah,
be an
well, we can't
optimist.
withstand it.
We can't withstand it.
Right.
Um, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what else would you like to say about the cup before we sign off?
I would say that it was an honor of his lifetime, and it was well deserved, and it could not happen to a more genuine person.
Oh, then Dan Rush to get the
Yeah, Rush
yeah
to
to
get
get this lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, and the entire community is to be worshipped as a group because we've come a long way, baby, since I was buying dope in the 80s and going from San Francisco to Oakland because somebody said that they could turn me on. And what it was one joint. So instead of, you buy.
By the truckload here.
Right, and but as much as you want, you can't buy more than 1 ounce a day, but you could buy an ounce every day. Or you could buy an ounce at a different club
Uh,
every day. That would be three in Alameda, where I live.
oh, you
Uh,
buy 3 ounces a day
you
because you
could,
buy an ounce
you
from Miracle.
could, if you want to sell part of it or
Or you want to be
whatever.
Bob, or you want to be Bob Marley reincarnated.
Right. I don't have the um, the aspiration for that to be reincarnated under any circumstances. Um,
So congratulations to Dan Rush. I want to make sure that we say congratulations to you. Thank you for doing that and having us be here at this at the Emerald Cup with him. That was great to be able to be his documentarians. And actually, we're gonna actually show you a video from him getting his award. But anything else you want to say in closing?
I just want to say we have a very, very pro 420 guest who's from New York, who's very interesting, who's going to talk about pet care when we do the show on Tuesday. We will splice it all together and we will try to be our ourselves, which is all we ever are. And I love working with you.
I love working with you, Tig, Zig.
I love playing with you. That doesn't sound
That
right.
just sounded so wrong on so many
So
levels.
but it's play what we do, not work.
No, it is, and that's what makes it fun for me. All right, my guy. We're out of here for myself. Of course, we've got one take Jake.
Jake, thank you for being here.
One
Thank you.
take Jake official on Instagram. Check that out. We are
Oh
in the riding.
wow,
We are on the
good.
riding and smoking van. Thanks to them for
We are
putting up with my shit all weekend.
Zig in the Zone, and the zone is expanding. Hope to take it north in the near future, and I'm a happy guy lately. It doesn't take long to change not being happy to being happy under the right circumstances. I take no credit for it, but life has been good, at least in the last half hour. Thank you, Paulie.
Thank you, Ralph. All right, guys. We'll be back after this. All right, Ziggy, you're in. We are live with Zig in his mobile studio. What's happening, my man?
Oh, I'm just happy to be anywhere. How are you?
Very well. Good to see you. We just played the segment from us at the Emerald Cup.
I saw part of it. I'm thrilled to have been able to pay our respects to Dan Rush on a very special day. And thank you for being my co-host on that one.
No problem. At least I can do. And we'll be showing his award ceremony next week. I was trying to get it ready for this week, but we've been busy. We do what we do, right?
Oh, it ain't easy being us,
Oh, I'm telling you. And
but it's fun. But it's fun.
but it's fun. You had a blast, right?
I really did. That was a terrific event. I'd like to get Melody on, who had a booth right next door to where we hung at the 101 booth.
Right.
And I didn't even know it. Let's get her on next week or the week after. We're booked next week. But to her experiences um, would be priceless. She runs a group for seniors in the Oakland Alameda community, and she's done it for about 5, 6 years. She's introduced folks to um, canna, cannabis in a non-confronting manner that makes it easier. Remember that um, people of our age, me notwithstanding, weren't used to cannabis as a regular thing. And we found out that I was used to it, believe me. But the folks have found out how it helps you, one, mentally and physically. Can you go into that a little bit,
What?
Paul?
How cannabis helps you mentally and physically?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Let me adjust some mic levels, and that's what we'll do. Let me see here. All right. By the way, I'm here with my friend Karen. Karen's hanging out with us. Say hi, Karen.
Hi, Zig.
Karen, nice Karen, nice to have you here.
So, and I notice I'm a little off center, but I'll fix my camera in a minute. But matter of fact, let's just fix it right now. There we go. How does cannabis help? Well, it really depends on your body makeup, right? Everybody has a different physical makeup in their body. Ideal. Let's speak for myself. I have depression and anxiety, and depending on what day it is, if which one's riding passenger, which one's riding shotgun. In other words, am I riding more depressed or am I more anxious? Today I'm more anxious because my mind is racing, constantly moving ahead, not staying on task, whatever I'm doing at hand. And the worst thing for me is any kind of stimulant. So back in the 80s when I was younger, it was about doing uppers. It could be cocaine, it could be meth, it could be whatever, right? And it would just, any kind of speed that was my drug. I liked it, but it was bad for me. Now my drug of choice is coffee. So I have a cold coffee in my hand, but stimulants don't do my body or my mind well at all. When you think about it, my mind starts to race. What's the worst thing to do with a fire? Throw kerosene on it. That's basically what I'm doing.
Would you do? What would you do, cannabis-wise, to not solve it, but alleviate, help it, modify it?
So one of the things that I have a problem with at night is sleeping. When the TVs go off and my wife goes to sleep and everybody else in the house is asleep, everything goes quiet. My tinnitus speaks up, starts ringing, even worse. And then what I call the circus comes to town. I start thinking about all my issues, like, I have to pay my bills. Don't forget my car, my dog. I start to worry about everything and anything under the sun. So that's the perfect time for me to ingest, or even before that, ingest some sort of cannabis. If it's even a cookie an hour before I go to bed, so then it starts to quiet my mind. It's one of those tricks, like putting your phone down at the end of the day. It's like
you
not watching
basically have
TV
to
when
be
you go to sleep.
Self-medicated.
Yeah, you can self-medicate, but I mean, when I'm anxious at night, it's kind of the equivalent of when someone gets off an 8-hour shift at work. Like I feel like I'm like, my body's pumping, I'm energized, my mind's still moving at a faster pace, yet it should be shut down. It should be quieted. And so what was your post yesterday for those quiet moments, or when it quiets your mind or whatever? And
oh yeah, whatever it was, it's those moments won't quiet themselves.
Right.
Thoughts will never quiet themselves. They need help. And sometimes, if you can control your mind without stimulus, all the better. But I can't. I know the ways to, but I don't come across those ways when I need them most. So, and
I mean, so
yeah.
it sounds like you use that to quiet your thoughts a little bit too, don't you?
Absolutely. Or to nap, or to get up from napping, or to
There's an old Steve Martin one, and I want to say it's from the album Let's Get Small. And he talks about, I only smoke pot in the morning. Well, and then kind of the early afternoon. And then once in a while, in the afternoon,
right.
But then the early evening.
Well, there's a catchy Rasta song. I smoked a joint, and then I smoked 2 joints, and this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
Whatever is right for you. You're not going to die from it.
Right.
You're not going to have some sort of an attack, but it may help you at the moment. Take a little nap, wake up, see how you feel.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at with the Steve Martin thing. He goes, he mentions all the times a day. He only says in the beginning he only smokes one time a day, but before you know it, he smokes every time of the day, except for, and then he finally goes, except for dusk, never at dusk. So I don't know why, but there you go. That was that. So that's his thing. That was his little thing. But so for me, it does help me quiet my mind. It does help me. It helps my mind quiet. It helps me relax. Brings down my heart rate tremendously. And it puts me in a good kind of frame of mind.
Absolutely. And there's an old expression, whatever gets you through the night. I can't imagine anything less harmful than what we're doing and more enjoyable. Not to get high. I don't think you and I have ever talked, well, we get high. It's not a matter of getting high. It's a matter of quenching whatever it is we need to be quenched. And I haven't been high for years from that standpoint, but I haven't been low for years either. So you take the good with the bad.
So
Paul,
whatever gets you through the night, the old John Lennon song. I thought I'd actually give you a quote to that.
Oh,
I was
beautiful.
thinking it was the Beatles, but then I could picture it was his solo career. So whatever
You know,
gets you through the night, it's all right. It's all right. That thing. Yeah. I'm a lost singer.
Speaking of the Beatles, I saw one of these, what do they call them, little shorts with a friend of the Beatles and the Stones. And he said, don't underestimate the Beatles as being sissies. They were from Liverpool. The Stones were college kids and not quite as tough for the world as the Beatles. So,
so in other words, the Liverpoolians are scrappy.
They're scrappy, and Ringo is from a place that he equated from being from the Bronx. Well, you know what? Being from the Bronx ain't all that bad, by the way. My grandparents had me the first 5 years of my life living in the Bronx, and I could not have been happier with Uncle Harold's tutelage, who was a merchant marine captain just coming back from the war, and with a lot of money because he wasn't in the Navy, he was in the merchant marines,
right.
And that was a business in itself. And incidentally, it's a good time. I'm rambling away here. Uncle Harold was a merchant marine captain trained at Kings Point, New York, where they had a merchant marine academy. This is pre-war. He took his training, his extensive training, at Alameda, California, and he turned out to be eventually the youngest person ever to be a captain in the Merchant Marines. He was like 22 or 24, and he was an incredible genius, but his stories were great. And I come across at the Alameda Museum the wheel that was used in the Merchant Marine training days. So I touched the wheel that he touched in training, and he's the one, when I got to California, he said, look up Alameda. It's the greatest place in the world. And it is. Holy, how about the weather?
The weather? Oh, yeah. Today it's 66 degrees here in the city, and it's looking beautiful, right?
It's 80 in Alameda.
It's 80 in Alameda. That's impossible.
It, well, it was 80 yesterday, and it's another nice day today.
Right now,
The,
it's 67 degrees in downtown San Francisco. Strong and
it,
gusty winds.
it'll warm up. It'll warm up, but the sun's got to get it. Here, the sun is on you all the time.
Right.
There are no big buildings, and there's the beach, and where I've located the Zigmobile, if you will. And we're here in the McDonald's parking lot, which affords us plenty of privacy and plenty of coolness, depending on where the sun hits. So it's a nice place to do a podcast with Paulie. Paulie, tell me something about how things are going at your studio.
They're doing well. I thought I'd show you the weather. There's your weather. There's your local weather. You looking good, man. You're right.
Yeah.
It's 84 degrees down in San Jose currently. And that's the high for the day in San Jose, 86 in Santa Rosa, 89 in Sacramento, and 92 out in Merced. So there's your weather report from Zig in the Zone.
Not only my weather report, but it becomes your weather report as well, Paulie. We share and share alike.
There we go. We do share a lot of things. So what's happening at the studios? Lots of exciting things happening at the studios. We just did the Emerald Cup. We like to take field trips. Don't we like to take field trips, Ziggy?
A little bit. I'll tell you what. Their fun gets us out of the studio, but the studio is always nice for me to come home to. If I do a couple of weeks on the road, it's nice to have the security and the setting, the way you set it up, makes it homey. And I just love doing the podcast with you. And I want to know about some of the good things you've got in your studio.
Well, the funny thing is I'm here sitting here doing camera changes, and I could have had the camera on you while you were talking. That's what a pro I am here at the studio. This is what we do. We do a lot of different things. We like going on field trips.
People are thanking you for keeping the camera off of me.
Oh, geez, is that really that bad? You're looking great, Zig.
Yeah, it's bad. I feel good.
Oh, good. You look good, buddy. You look good.
Well,
so
I have no choice but being an old man in a small town.
So, an old man in a small town. I still can't line up a camera with shit. So what are we doing here at the studio? We're trying to do anything we can to give people a platform to express themselves in a creative and positive environment. What does that mean? That means even if you're Zig and you're sitting in your mobile studio out there in Alameda, California, and it's 80 degrees hot, you could be doing your podcast. If you're in a basement somewhere, if you're on a sand dune in the middle of Mumbai, I don't know, but we can do it. We can get you. We can get you to express yourself. If you have a portable device that will get you internet service and you're easy enough to get on a messenger with Facebook or Instagram or any kind of video message, we can help you create content. So here at Edge Studios, what do? We ask you, are you trying to do this? We want you. We want you to be able to create. So reach out to us at edgestudiosonline.com or edgestudiosonline@gmail.com, and we can help you do what you need to do. I mean, look at Zig gets to kick back, and then he gets to step out of his mobile studio and walk over to Park Social.
Not only Park Social, but my new Jones is Mocha Fraps.
Where you getting your frozen coffee from? Are you getting it from right there at your home there? Your McDonald's?
Right there at McDonald's. Fraps are my new Jones that has taken the place over the years of egg creams when I was growing up. Yoo-hoo, I don't know if you had Yoo-hoo, Yogi Berra sponsored drink. out here in
Oh yeah,
California.
we have Yoo-Hoos. Yes, I've had a Yoo-Hoo. But I've
Okay, that
also
was.
had a real egg cream, a real New York egg cream.
Oh wow, that nothing
I
can.
used to work for a seltzer bottling company, and it was called the Seltzer Sisters, and they were from New York, and their big thing was, you remember, like the Laurel and Hardy films, or Abbott and Costello, they had the big seltzer bottles that you would
Spritz, right?
right, and they would always be spraying each other. So we used to, my job was to fill those machines or fill those bottles from this crazy machine that would turn, and I would have to put one bottle in upside down as I'm taking out another one. And you could almost lose your hand. It was like an industrial job. And so I
Yeah.
had to fill, I think it was like 1,000 of those bottles in a shift. And since they were turn of the century bottles, every once in a while, you'd get one to explode. And they're
Well,
under high pressure. They're like 3,000 pounds of pressure. The glass is super thick. And when they blow, it's like a bomb went off. And so you would literally shut down the line and walk away. And back then I was I was a cigarette smoker. I'd be like, okay, time for a cigarette.
right.
Because it was one of those things. So I had to wear a fencing outfit. So like I had the big old metal like cage over my face with mesh, and then I had a lead vest like you would get when you get X-rays.
Right, from the dentist.
Yeah, from the dentist where they cover you in lead. So I had to wear a big old lead apron and then a big old fencing helmet with the wet mesh. So when the bottle would blow up, all you would get is water blowback.
Wow. I had no idea that's a form of bending. And I helped my friend Jan um, fill up vending machines at one time in my life.
Right.
I didn't do much, held the door for Jan, but and it's the same idea that you wonder how that vending machines and the like has taken away from the industry of when all this had to be done by hand
Well,
and
yeah, that's
stuff.
part of the American Revolution, right? So that was all about all that stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of the American Revolution, I I posted a story that got the most hits of anything I've ever posted in 15 years of doing Facebook.
Okay, what was
And
the
that
story?
was on Zinn, the author. I can't think of his first name, but he did a book in the 80s called The American Revolution of Facts and what have you. And he basically discredited history and the way it was written. Um, and so check out my
Is it the Comfortably
Facebook.
Zone page or what?
It's on my page individually,
Okay.
Ralph Piker.
I noticed 5 days
And
ago we also we lost Alvin Adels. Tell me about Alvin.
Alvin Adels, and here's a something you don't know about with Ralph Taker. I started and ran a nonprofit for kids called People Care for Daycare, and this was in the 80s. And I said I have to get a board of directors with some names, but I didn't have the balls to ask Alvin Adels, who I had to connect with from friends in Philly, um, to be on my board of directors, but he was on my board of advisors. And he gave me a day of talking about fundraising in life and what have you. that's absolutely memorable. He is what I described to someone as a mensch, Alvin Adels.
Right.
Um, my friends from camp in my early years, when Al Adels was playing for Philadelphia, were the equipment directors of the Philadelphia Warriors. And they'd have Philadelphia Warriors up to give counseling to us and what have you. Paul Harrison would come up twice a year. Chuck Bednarik of the Eagles. But so I had to connect with Alvin Adels, and he was nice enough to give me, first of all, he put his name as the board of advisors on the website, and so I'll always remember him. It's like I say, there aren't many people that I use the expression. It's a Yiddish expression. It means man technically, but there's no real translation. It means a man, a mensch, someone who will do what he promises to do. And
A man is true to his
so
word and is honest and true.
absolutely. And so rest in peace from both of us.
That's
Thank
it.
you
Yeah,
for
Alvin.
bringing it
He
up.
sound like a really stand up kind of guy. So
He really
we need
was.
more of those
And
people in the world like Alvin. So
in the day that Wilt scored 100 in one game in Hershey, Pennsylvania, Al Adels, not a traditional scorer, was the second leading scorer of that game. And the person who wrote whenever you go to that game or pictures of it, it wasn't on film. Um, there's a sign, 100 points. My camp buddy Jeff Millman filled that sign out. 100 points.
yeah.
He was the assistant um, equipment manager, and the equipment manager was also a good guy. I can't think of his name right now, but there's advantages and disadvantages to some of the herbal essence. You're looking at it. How are we doing time wise?
You're at 48 minutes, sir.
Okay, then let's make sure I get what is going to be my ending in.
Okay.
And I did it last week, and it really makes sense. Keep your dreams wet and your humor dry. Keep your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting stations and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. I want to get that in on every podcast so there's no mistake how I feel. And part of being old is and part of being old and having a podcast is the cathartic feeling of saying what's on your mind, whatever and whenever I think of it.
Right. And
And
isn't that a good thing? Isn't it? I tell people all the time, especially when I'm introing comedians onto a stage, I go, you should clap for each and every one of these comedians, even if you don't like them, even if you're not you should be clapping. You should be giving them. You'd rather them be up on the stage with a microphone in their hand than up on a rooftop with a sniper's rifle.
Absolutely.
And so we love you behind the microphone and in front of the camera, Ziggy.
Thank you. And besides, I can't afford the bullets. I've priced them.
Chris Rock used to have a joke: just make the bullets $5,000 a piece, and nobody will ever get shot by a stray bullet again.
Absolutely. Can you imagine having weapons that can fire that many shots in that few period of time,
Well, actually,
and
here's the problem: is I can't
no
imagine
regulation on them.
none whatsoever. That's why I told you we need to start arming children at the age of 1 year old. We give them a
Well,
semi-automatic for their first birthday. That way, they have the loudest sound maker and noise maker in the sandbox, right?
and it cuts down on having the friends of the kid that you really don't like as a parent. So, no, that's not
Yeah,
true.
I know.
I
We're being
liked all of
absurdist.
my
We're being
kids.
absurdist, folks, because
Yeah,
this country's absurd
absolutely.
with
Well, they
this.
were joking. Uh, Sometimes people, I don't know if you were old enough, Paulie, to hear the expression "kidding on the square."
No, enlighten
Well,
this
it's
youngster.
when you're joking about when people in my grandfather's generation, for instance, were joking about something, and were they really joking? Were they kidding on the square? In other words, um, your your kidding really isn't kidding, and it's a great expression from my youth. My
All right, so
youth.
one good saying deserves another. So the old saying, "Mind your P's and Q's." Do you know what that
Ooh,
means?
no,
It's an English expression that derives from "mind your pints and quarts." In other words, mind your drinking and don't act like an ass. So mind your P's and Q's.
and they did all that without meetings that take you to a higher power.
This is the
Um,
useless minutia that floats around my brain that I call energy.
yeah, well, it's not useless because it's energy in itself,
It is energy in
and
itself.
it, well, in your case, it's somewhat useless. But hey, what do I know? Uh, Paulie, it's a pleasure talking to you every week, and I gotta say, I've been getting some good feedback about our podcast
Well, that's good.
from people who mean a lot to me, and I'm grateful. And you, it couldn't have been a video podcast without your help, and it would no longer be an audio podcast. Uh, 3,200 episodes
Holy smokes.
between
That's a lot of hours, bro. I think you've paid your community service. You've paid your
it.
debt to society.
It wasn't just me, it was the people that I had on the Comfortably Zone network. And ironically, they are among the people most who I honor by having them on the video part. Um, we've done 29 episodes now. And if you remember, after 4 episodes, I got to thank Feidelberg, Grimm, and Peter Golenbeck. And I told you then, it was so cool. If I never did an episode past the fourth one, I'd be happy on some level. I would have missed out on doing more, but um, so you can imagine 29 episodes of talking to people who are incredibly interesting and teaching me something every time.
Well,
Teach
and
us
you're
both
right.
something.
I'm starting to look online and I see some of the reviews of our podcast and it's just great. I'm so excited. It says Zig in the Zone podcast, one of the absolute stalwarts of podcasting, comedian Paul Brumbaugh joins with Zig Tyco. The show has been running continuously for over 4 months and the sky's the limit right here. Wow. This is great.
Wow. It took us a long time to write that one, huh?
Yeah. Let me see here. Host Zig Tyco interviews different celebrity or public figures that seem to keep you on the edge of your seat. So tune in because you never know where this podcast is going. These are great reviews.
Wow.
And they're made up
I
right
ha-
off the tip of
I
my
haven't
brain.
read I haven't read those, and I glow. What can I say?
Well, there you go. So we're getting close, Ziggy. I know next week we're gonna do the award ceremony for your buddy Dan Rush. Do you know who's gonna be on next week's podcast at all?
What's is next week? This third?
Next week will be the something. Yeah, probably the third-ish.
I think it will. We'll have a Met show right before Robert Cole goes in
I
for
was
knee
gonna say
surgery.
Robert Cole show. Okay, gotcha.
Right. He is terrific, and one of the returning guests. I'm grateful when people like the experience of being with us enough to come back. And we're gonna. Speaking of which, last week we had a guest, the dog pet thing.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name right now. Again, I blank.
Kit Zagorski.
Kit Zagorski.
Zagorski.
Second time in 10 years, speaking and coming back. I hope he ends up doing a podcast on.
He has a great personality.
He's encourage him, and I will talk more to him. He had fun, and he knows how to entertain, and he's good. Mike Heath wants to do something with us on a regular basis, and what I'm thinking,
and it looks like Jerry, and we want to send out our best, our buddy, I guess, Jerry Feinelberg's doing better. Awesome.
He has gone from up to down to up to down to up to down so many times. It's been horrible for him. He now has COVID that he's recovering from in isolation in the hospital. And it really has been sucky.
Well, we send our best to Jerry. I know he's listening to this podcast, so
and George Grimm, not to belabor the fact that we're all on the injured
we're all
list,
on the injured reserve list here on the zone.
Right. George Grimm is going in for some extensive testing, which will determine how they're going to take care of his leaky valve.
Right.
And I wish him the best. Again, George and I wrote a book together. It's like you and I do this together. There's a bonding that we have, that I have with you and George and a number of people on a number of different levels that can't be described.
No, so, we definitely are a collection of buffoons and friends.
Right.
And so it's an honor to be a part of this club with you, Ziggy.
Well, it's an honor to have had you in my life to make it all possible.
Oh, you just make it a little bit easier for me, buddy. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Don't take your eye off the ball, folks. We're doing this. We're doing this every week. We're doing it on Tuesday from 11 to 1. It's Zig in the Zone. For myself.
Please subscribe, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, what was it? Here, I'll do it. I'll do it for the camera even. We want you to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell on the bottom. That's right. The little bell goes like this. That way, every time he goes live, you can go live with him. We would love to hear from you. Check us out. Send us an email. What's your email there, Ziggy? So they can send you an email for questions.
Z.Zagman, Zagman, at yahoo.com. Yahoo. But I can be reached on Facebook. You can be reached on Facebook. I would say that on YouTube and Facebook, between that, we've got all the exposure we need, but we're on other outlets too. Paul?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
We're currently on Facebook on the Edge of Insanity page. We're on the Comfortably Zone Network on YouTube. And don't worry, we'll get it all out there to everywhere. But anywhere podcasts can be seen and heard, it's Zig in the Zone, folks.
You'll find us. And I don't know if that's a threat or a promise.
All right, so we're closing it. Run out, we're out. We'll see you next week
Be
on the
good, my
Zone.
friend.
Well,
Stay healthy. In regards to Christine.
you got it, buddy. Here we go.